Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I'm glad to see you all so bright and early at eleven in the morning at church. There's no more important.
Blessed morning, Manuka.
Blessed morning, Ilyas Filfan Zubub. There's no more important day or time than church time. Church and church day is the most holiest day in the week. And you know, you might not be feeling like going to work today. That's fine. Or you might not feel like playing the video games. That's also fine. But you never don't not feel like going to church. You always feel like going to church when you're not feeling good. Because you make an effort to go to church because it's important to go to church. Now, as the teachings of the Bible tell us is that always be happy and always love each other and always be a good person and always come to church. Well, now, who remembers what happened last week in the book of the Bible, God? What we learned, remember? Because if you remember, please let me know, because I do not remember. Some dribble. Yes. Oh yes. But we learned about last week we learned about offerings. All the people must make offerings for every time they do something wrong, and we were learning about every little thing. So if you stole the goat, then you, or something, if you lie, then you have to give an offering of a goat and slit their head and make them bleed out, and then splash their blood on the side of the tabernacle. But if you lie to deceive, then you have to do it with a chicken or something, a cow, a bull, and whatnot. A lot of that, and I think we're still continuing with that. The whole thing is, the whole book of Leviticus is just that, apparently. Oh, I went past. We're up to 14, which is 14 out of 25 or something, which is halfway. The Lord, he said to Moses, "These are the regulations for any diseased person at the time of their ceremonial cleansing. When they are brought to the priest is to go outside to the camp and examine them. If they have been healed of their defiling disease, the priest shall order that 2 live clean birds and some cedar wood, scarlet yarn, and hyssop be brought for the person to be cleansed. Then the priest shall order that one of the birds be killed over fresh water in a clay pot. He is then to take the live bird and dip it together with the cedar wood, the scarlet yarn, and the hyssop, and into the blood of the bird that was killed over the fresh water. 7 times he shall sprinkle the one to be cleansed of the disease. 7 times he shall sprinkle the one to be cleansed of the defiling disease, and then pronounce them clean. After that, he is to release the live bird in the open fields. The person is to be cleansed, must wash their clothes, shave off all their hair, and bathe with water. Then they will be ceremonially clean. After this, they may come into camp, but they must stay outside their tent for 7 days. This seems like a lot of work that you have to do, so do not even think about getting any defiling diseases. On the 7th day, they must shave off all their hair. On the 8th day, they must bring 2 male lambs and 1 ewe lamb, a year old, each without defect, along with the 3/10 of an ephah, for the finest flour mixed with olive oil for a grain offering, and 1 log of oil. I don't know what measurement is. I wonder how hard it was to shave off all your head back then. Sure, they had sheep shears. Maybe just like sharp stones. I don't even think they had metal back then. They had gold. Gold manscaping razors. The priest who pronounces them clean shall present both the one to be cleansed and their offerings before the Lord at the entrance of the tent of meeting. Then the priest is to take 1 of the male lambs and offer it as a guilt offering. Along with the log of oil, he shall wave them before the Lord as a wave offering. He is to slaughter the lamb in the sanctuary area where the sin offering and the burnt offering are slaughtered. Like the sin offering, the guilt offering belongs to the priest. It is most holy. The priest is to take some of the blood of the guilt offering and on the thumb of their right hand and on the big toe of their right foot. The priest shall then take some of the log oil pour it onto the palm of his own left hand, dip his right forefinger into the oil of his palm, and with his finger sprinkle some of it before the Lord 7 times. The rest of the oil in his palm shall be put on the head of the one to be cleansed and make atonement for them before the Lord. Then the priest is to sacrifice the sin and make atonement for the one to be cleansed from their uncleanliness. After that, the priest shall slaughter the burnt offering and offer it on the altar, together with the grain offering, and make atonement for them, and they will be clean. If, however, they are poor and cannot afford these, they must take 1 male lamb as a guilt offering to be waved to make atonement for them, together with 1/10 of an ephah. I still don't know how to pronounce that. Of the finest flour mixed with olive oil for a grain offering, a log of oil, and 2 doves or 2 young pigeons, such as they can afford. 1 for a sin offering and the other for a burnt offering. On the 8th day, they must bring them for a cleansing to the priest at the entrance to the tent of meeting, before the Lord. The priest is to take the lamb for the guilt offering, together with the log of oil, and to wave them before the Lord as a wave offering. He shall slaughter the lamb for the guilt offering, and take some of its blood and put it on the lobe of the right ear of the one to be cleansed, on the thumb of the right hand, and on the big toe of their right foot. The priest is to pour some of the oil into the palm of his own left hand, and with his right forefinger sprinkle some of the oil from his palm 7 times before the Lord. How did they wash the oil off their hands? They must be like really greasy hands all the time, because they didn't have soap. Some of the oil in his palm he is to put on the same places he put the blood of the guilt offering, on the lobe of the right ear of the one to be cleansed, on the thumb of their right hand, and on the big toe of their right foot. Sand? Oh, I forgot. Yeah. Sand is good for oil, I think. Maybe that'll keep Puffy to look it up. The rest of the oil in his palm the priest shall put on the head of the one to be cleansed, to make atonement for them before the Lord. That's like the third time this week that I've heard about oil and sand. How does sand stop oil? I don't get it. Does it absorb the oil, or just make it really grainy? Then he shall sacrifice the doves or the young pigeons, such as the person he can afford. One as sin offering and the other as a burnt offering, together with the grain offering. In this way the priest will make atonement before the Lord on behalf of the one to be cleansed. These are the regulations for anyone who has a defiling skin disease and who cannot afford the regular offerings for their cleansing. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, he said, when you enter the land of Canaan, which I am giving you as your possession, and I put a spreading mold in a house in that land. A spreading mold. The owner of the house must go and tell the priest, I have seen something that looks like a defiling mold in my house. I feel like I've seen people use sand to get oil off their hands. Like scrub the sand in the oil, maybe completely wrong though. I mean, it sounds right. Kind of. Sounds like a... but I don't understand how that would work. The priest is to order the house to be emptied before he goes to examine the mold, so that nothing in the house will be pronounced unclean. It's God's work, amen. It must be. It can't be anything else. After this, the priest is to go in and inspect the house. He is to examine the mold on the walls, and if it has a greenish or reddish depressions that appear to be deeper than the surface of the wall, the priest shall go out of the doorway of the house and close it up for 7 days. On the 7th day, the priest shall return to inspect the house. If the mold has spread on the walls, he is to order that the contaminated stones be torn out and thrown into an unclean place outside the town. He must have all the inside walls of the house scraped, and the material that has scraped off dumped into unclean place outside the town. So they pile up all the mold in like their own like mountain of mold, which doesn't sound very sanitary. And what if it spreads back because it's a spreading mold? Why for 7 days? Because mold is slow to spread. Get rid of it when you see the mold? No, because if it's not a spreading mold, you don't want to remove that mold because it's a non-spreading mold, which is good. He must have all the inside walls of the house scraped, and the material that is scraped off be dumped in an unclean place outside of town. The good mold, yes. Like cheese. Then they are to take other stones to replace these, and take new clay and plaster the house. If the defiling mold reappears in the house after the stones have been torn out, and the house has been scraped and plastered, the priest is to go and examine it, and if the mold has spread in the house, it is a persistent defiling mold. Ooh, that's bad. That's really bad. The house is unclean. It must be torn down, the stones, timbers, and all the plaster, and taken out of the town to an unclean place. You lose your house from the serious defiling mold. Anyone who goes into the house while it is closed up will be unclean till evening. Anyone who sleeps or eats in the house must wash their clothes, but if the priest comes to examine it, and the mold has not spread after the house has been plastered, he shall pronounce the house clean, because the defiling mold is gone. Nice. To purify the house, he is to take 2 birds, and some cedar wood, scarlet yarn, and hyssop. He shall kill one of the birds over fresh water in the clay pot. Then he is to take the cedar wood, the hyssop, and scarlet yarn, and the live bird, dip them into the blood of the dead bird, and fresh water, and sprinkle the house 7 times. He shall purify the house with the bird's blood, and the fresh water, the live bird, the cedar wood, and the hyssop, and the scarlet yarn. Then he is to release the live bird in the open field outside the town. In this way he will make atonement for the house, and it will be clean. So if you're a bird, you have like a 1 in 2 chance of being slaughtered. It's pretty scary, yeah. These are the regulations for any defiling disease or a sore. For defiling mold in fabric or a house. Bad time to be a bird. And for swelling, a rash, or a shiny spot, to determine when something is clean or unclean, these are the regulations for defiling skin diseases and defiling molds. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "Speak to the Israelites and say to them, when any man has an unusual bodily discharge, such as a discharge is unclean, an unusual bodily discharge." Do they just breed birds for cleansing? Maybe. The bird farms. You are allowed to eat birds. It's kosher to eat certain birds, so I'm guessing they because they didn't have chickens back then. They didn't exist. No McDonald's, no KFC, just doves and pigeons you could eat. Whether it continues flowing from his body or is blocked, it will make him unclean. This is how his discharge will bring about uncleanliness. Which is surprising because chickens are thought to be the de-evolution of dinosaurs, right? But dinosaurs don't exist. They never did, so. Because we had God. And this is any bed the man with a discharge discharge lies on will be unclean, and anything he sits on will be unclean. Anyone who touches his bed must wash their clothes and bathe with water, and they will be unclean till evening. Whoever sits on anything that the man with a discharge sat on must wash their clothes and bathe with water, and they will be unclean till evening. Whoever touches the man who has a discharge must wash the clothes and bathe with water, and they will be unclean till evening. If the man with a discharge spits on anyone who is clean, why would they do that? I don't know. If the man with a discharge spits on anyone who is clean, they must wash their clothes and bathe with water, and they will be unclean till evening. Spitting on people must have been a common thing back in those days to have it written as rules in the Bible. Everything the man sits on when writing will be unclean, and whoever touches any of the things that were under him will be unclean till evening. Whoever picks up those things must wash their clothes and bathe with water, and they will be unclean till evening. Anyone the man with a discharge Anyone the man with a discharge touches without rinsing his hands, must wash their clothes and bathe with water, and they will be unclean till evening. Weren't women unclean for days after their monthlies? But if Mr. Eye Bleeding spits on you, you're only unclean for a day? Yes. No, I think the days was, it was like I think it was after
Good morning, Manuka.
after pregnancy. I don't remember exactly. Hi, Lemus. Good morning. I think pregnancy was the unclean for days or weeks. Yeah, it was like a month. It might have been for periods as well, but I don't know. I don't remember. A clay pot that the man touches must be broken, and any wooden article is to be rinsed with water. It's like a week. It might have been. When a man is cleansed from his discharge, he is to count off 7 days for a ceremonial cleansing. He must wash his clothes and bathe himself with fresh water, and he will be clean. Amen. On the 8th day he must take 2 doves or 2 young pigeons, and come before the Lord to the entrance of the tent of meeting, and give them to the priest. The priest is to sacrifice them, one for a sin offering and the other for a burnt offering. In this way he will make atonement before the Lord for the man because of his discharge. When a man has an emission of semen, he must bathe his whole body with water. A discharge of semen. And he will be unclean till evening. Any clothing or leather that has semen on it must be washed with water, and it will be unclean till evening. When a man has sexual relations with a woman and there is an emission of semen, when there is a emission of semen, both of them must bathe with water, and they will be unclean till evening. When a woman has her regular flow of blood, the impurity of her monthly period will last 7 days. Oh, there you go, you're right. And anyone who touches her will be unclean till evening. Never touch a woman on her period. Anything she lies on during her period will become unclean. An earlier foreshadowing. And anything she sits on will be unclean till evening. Anyone who touches her bed will be unclean. They must wash their clothes and bathe with water, and they will be unclean till evening. Hi Kaz, good morning. Whether it is the bed or anything she was sitting on, when anyone touches it, they will be unclean till evening. If a man has sexual relations with her, and her monthly flow touches him, he will be unclean for 7 days. Any bed he lies on will be unclean. When a woman has a discharge of blood for many days, at a time other than her monthly period, or as a discharge that continues beyond her period, she will be unclean as long as she has the discharge, just as in the days of her period. God never told us why women get periods. Any bed she lies on while her discharge continues will be unclean, as is her bed during her monthly period. And anything she sits on will be unclean, as during her period. Anyone who touches them will be unclean. It's to punish them for what Eve did to us. Oh, right, correct. That does make a lot of sense. Kind of what they can. Anyone who touches them will be unclean. They must wash the clothes and bathe with water, and they will be unclean till evening. When she is cleansed from her discharge, she must count of 7 days, and after that she will be ceremonially clean. On the eighth day she must take 2 doves or 2 young pigeons and bring them to the priest at the entrance to the tent of meeting. The priest is to sacrifice one for a sin offering and the other for a burnt offering. In this way he will make atonement for her before the Lord of the uncleanliness of her discharge. You must keep the Israelites separate from things that make them unclean, so they will not die in their uncleanliness for defiling my dwelling place which is among them. These are the regulations for a man with a discharge, for anyone made unclean by an emission of semen, for a woman in her monthly period, for a man or a woman with a discharge, and for a man who has a sexual relations with a woman who is ceremonially unclean. The Lord spoke to Moses after the death of the 2 sons of Aaron who died when they approached the Lord. The Lord said to Moses, "Tell your brother Aaron that he is not to come whenever he chooses into the most holy place behind the curtain in front of the atonement cover of the ark, or else he will die, for I will appear in the cloud over the atonement cover." This is how Aaron is to enter the most holy place. He must first bring a young bull for a sin offering and a ram for a burnt offering. He is to put on the sacred linen tunic with the linen undergarments next to his body. He is to tie the linen sash around him and put on the linen turban. These are sacred garments, so he must bathe himself with water before he puts them on. From the Israelite community, he is to take 2 male goats for a sin offering and a ram for a burnt offering. Aaron is to offer the bull for his own sin offering to make atonement for himself and his household. Then he is to take 2 goats and present them before the Lord at the entrance to the tent of meeting. He is to cast lots for the 2 goats, one lot for the Lord and the other for the scapegoat. But the goats chosen by the lot as the scapegoat shall be presented alive before the Lord to be used for making atonement by sending it into the wilderness as a scapegoat. A scapegoat! A goat as a scapegoat! I get it. Aaron shall bring the bull for his own sin offering to make atonement for himself and his household, and he is to slaughter the bull for his own sin offering. He is to take a censer full of burning coals from the altar before the Lord, and 2 handfuls of finely ground fragrant incense, and take them behind the curtain. He is to put the incense on the fire before the Lord, and the smoke of the incense will seal the atonement cover above the tablets of the covenant law, so that he will not die. He is to take some of the bull's blood, and with his finger sprinkle it on the front of the atonement cover, and he shall sprinkle some of it with his finger 7 times before the atonement cover. He shall then slaughter the goat for the sin offering with the people, and take its blood behind the curtain, and do with it as he did with the bull's blood. He shall sprinkle it on the atonement cover and in front of it. In this way he will make atonement for the most holy place, because of the uncleanliness and rebellion of the Israelites, whatever their sins have been. He is to do the same for the tent of meeting, which is among them in the midst of their uncleanliness. No one is to be in the tent of meeting from the time Aaron goes in to make atonement in the most holy place until he comes out, having made atonement for himself, his household, and the whole community of Israel. Then he shall come out to the altar that is before the Lord and make atonement for us. He shall take some of the bull's blood and some of the goat's blood and put it on the horns of the altar. He shall sprinkle some of the blood on it with his fingers 7 times to cleanse it and to consecrate it from the uncleanliness of the Israelites. And when Aaron has finished making atonement for the most holy place, the tent of meeting and the altar, he shall bring forward the live goat. He is to lay both hands on the head of the live goat and confess over it all the wickedness and rebellion of the Israelites, all their sins, and put them on the goat's head. He shall send the goat away into the wilderness in the care of someone appointed for the task. The goat will carry on itself all their sins to a remote place, and the man shall release it into the wilderness. Then Aaron is to go into the tent of meeting and take off the linen garments he put on before he entered the most holy place, and he is to leave from there. He shall bathe himself with water in the sanctuary area and put on his regular garments. Then he shall come out and sacrifice the burnt offering for himself, and the burnt offering for the people, to make atonement for himself and the people. He shall also burn the fat of the sin offering on the altar. The man who releases the goat as a scapegoat must wash his clothes and bathe himself with water. Afterward he may come into the camp. The bull and the goat for the sin offerings, whose blood was brought into the most holy place to make atonement, must be taken outside the camp. Their hides, flesh, and intestines are to be burned up. The man who brought them must wash his clothes and bathe himself with water. Afterward he may come into the camp. This is to be a lasting ordinance for you. On the 10th day of the 7th month you must deny yourselves and not do any work, whether native born or a foreigner residing among you. Because on this day, atonement will be made for you, to cleanse you. Then, before the Lord, you will be clean from all your sins. It is the day of Sabbath rest. You must deny yourselves. It is a lasting ordinance. The priest who is anointed and ordained to succeed his father as high priest is to make atonement. He is to put on the sacred linen garments and make atonement for the most holy place, for the tent of meeting and the altar, and for the priests and all the members of the community. This is to be a lasting ordinance for you. Atonement is to be made once a year for all the sins of the Israelites, and it was done as the Lord commanded Moses. The Lord said to Moses, "Speak to Aaron and his sons and to all the Israelites, and say to them, 'This is what the Lord has commanded. Any Israelite who sacrifices an ox, a lamb, or a goat in the camp or outside of it, instead of bringing it to the entrance of the tent of meeting to present it as an offering to the Lord in front of the tabernacle of the Lord, that person shall be considered guilty of bloodshed. They have shed blood and must be cut off from their people." What? Any Israelite who sacrifices an ox, lamb, or goat in the camp or out... Oh, sacrifices. I see. You're only to sacrifice outside of the tent. At the tent. This is so the Israelites will bring to the Lord the sacrifices they are now making in the open fields. They must bring them to the priest, that is, to the Lord, at the entrance of the tent of meeting, and sacrifice them as a fellowship offering. The priest is to splash the blood against the altar of the Lord at the entrance to the tent of meeting and burn the fat as an aroma praising to the Lord. They must no longer offer any of their sacrifices to the goat idols to whom they prostitute themselves. This is to be a lasting ordinance for them and for the generations to come. Say to them, any Israelite or any foreigner residing among them who offers a burnt offering or sacrifice and does not bring it to the entrance of the tent of meeting to sacrifice it to the Lord must be cut off from the people of Israel. I will set my face against any Israelite or any foreigner residing among them who eats blood, and I will cut them off from the people. For the life of a creature is in the blood, and I have given it to you to make atonement for yourselves on the altar. It is the blood that makes atonement for one's life. Therefore I say to the Israelites, none of you may eat blood, nor may any foreigner residing among you eat blood. Any Israelite or foreigner residing among you who hunt any animal or bird that may be eaten must drain out the blood and cover it with earth. Because the life of every creature is its blood, and that is why I have said to the Israelites, you must not eat the blood of any creature. Because of the life of every creature is its blood, and anyone who eats it must be cut off. That is why I have said to the Israelites, you must not eat the blood of any creature. You must not eat the blood of any creature, because the life of every creature is its blood. Anyone who eats it must be cut off. Anyone, whether native-born or foreigner, who eats anything found dead or torn by wild animals must wash their clothes and bathe with water, and they will be ceremonially unclean till evening. Then they will be clean. But if they do not wash their clothes and bathe themselves, they will be held responsible. The Lord said to Moses, he said, speak to the Israelites and say to them, I am the Lord your God. You must not do as they do in Egypt, where you used to live, and you must not do as they do in the land of Canaan, where I am bringing you. Do not follow their practices. You must obey my laws and be careful to follow my decrees. I am the Lord your God. Do not dishonor your father by having... Keep my decrees and laws, for the person who obeys them will live by them. I am the Lord. No one is to approach any close relative to have sexual relations. I am the Lord. Do not dishonor your father by having sexual relations with your mother. She is your mother. Do not have relations with her. Do not have sexual relations with your father's wife. That would dishonor your father. Do not have sexual relations with your sister, either your father's daughter or your mother's daughter, whether she was born in the same home or elsewhere. Do not have sexual relations with your son's daughter or your son's daughter or your daughter's daughter. That would dishonor you. Do not have sexual relations with the daughter of your father's wife. Born to your father, she is your sister. Do not have sexual relations with your father's sister. She is your father's close relative. Yes. Do not dishonor your father's brother by approaching his wife to have sexual relations. She is your aunt. Do not have sexual relations with your daughter-in-law. She is your son's wife. Do not have relations with her. Do not have sexual relations with your brother's wife. That would dishonor your brother. Do not. I hope this is a wake-up call for some of you. If you are committing some of these acts, I hope you stop immediately. Do not have sexual relations with your brother's wife. That would dishonor your brother. Do not, and I repeat, do not have sexual relationships with both a man and her daughter. Do not have sexual relations with either her son's daughter or her daughter's daughter, and they are her close relatives. That is wickedness. That is wickedness. True wickedness knows no bounds. Do not have sexual relationships with either your son's daughter or her daughter's daughter. They are her close relatives. Do not take your wife's sister as a rival. Do not take your wife's sister as a rival's wife and have sexual relations with her while your wife is living. Do not approach a woman to have sexual relations during the uncleanliness of her monthly period. No. Do not have sexual relations with your neighbor's wife and defile yourself with her. Do not give any of your children to be sacrificed to Molech. Who? You must not profane the name of your God. I am the Lord. Do not have sexual relations with a man as one does with a woman. That is detestable. Do not have sexual relations with an animal and defile yourself with it. A woman must not present herself to an animal to have sexual relations with it. That is perversion. There were only 5 people left over after all this. Well, no, it was okay until God said it wasn't okay. So everybody was quick to change their ways and break up their relations with their sisters and daughters and neighbors' wives and men, if you're a man. Do not defile yourself in any of these ways, because this is how the nations that I am going to drive out before you became defiled. Even the land was defiled, so I punished it for its sin, and the land vomited out its inhabitants. But you must keep my decrees and my laws. The native born and the foreigners residing among you must not do any of these detestable things. For all these things were done by the people who lived in the land before you, and the land became defiled. The other nations must have been fun. And if you defile the land, it will vomit you out, as it vomited out the nations that were before you. Everyone who does any of these detestable things, such persons must be cut off from their people. Everyone who does any of these detestable things, keep my requirements and do not follow any of the detestable customs that were practiced before you came, and do not defile yourselves with them. I am the Lord, your God. So, I didn't see anything about women having sexual relations with other women. So is that okay? I mean, it doesn't explicitly say that, so how do we know? The Lord said to Moses, "Speak to the entire assembly of Israel and say to them, 'Be holy because I, the Lord, your God, am holy.'" The Lord said to Moses, "Speak to the entire assembly of Israel and say to them, 'Be holy because I, the Lord, your God, am holy.' Each of you must respect your mother and father, and you must observe my Sabbaths. I am the Lord your God." He's putting them to his hand to the God. Yeah. Yes. Do not turn to idols or make metal gods for yourselves. I am the Lord your God. When you sacrifice a fellowship offering to the Lord, sacrifice it in a way that it will be accepted on your behalf. It shall be eaten on the day you sacrifice it or the next day. Anything left over until the 3rd day must be burnt up. If any of it is eaten on the 3rd day, it is impure and will not be accepted. If any of it is eaten on the third day, it is impure and will not be accepted. Whoever eats it will be held responsible because they have desecrated what is holy to the Lord. They must be cut off from their people. When you reap the harvest of your land, do not reap to the very edges of your field or gather the gleanings of your harvest. Do not go over your vineyard a second time or pick up the grapes that have fallen. Leave them for the poor and the foreigner. I am the Lord your God. Do not steal. Do not lie. Do not deceive one another. Do not swear falsely by my name, and so profane the name of your God. I am the Lord. Do not defraud or rob your neighbor. Do not hold back the wages of a hired worker overnight. Do not curse the deaf or put a stumbling block in front of the blind. But fear your God, for I am the Lord. Do not curse the deaf or put a stumbling block in front of the blind. So if you trip a blind people, you're cut off from the people. Who would do that? Apparently enough people would do that for it to be written in the Bible. That's how many people do that. Do not pervert justice. Do not show partiality to the poor or favoritism to the great, but judge your neighbor fairly. Do not go about spreading slander among your people. Do not do anything that endangers your neighbor's life. I am the Lord. Every time he says, I am the Lord, every sentence, I'm good, I am God. I am the Lord your God. Do not hate a fellow Israelite in your heart. Rebuke your neighbor frankly, so you will not share in their guilt. Do not seek revenge or bear a grudge against anyone among your people, but love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord. Keep my decrees. Do not mate different kinds of animals. Do not plant your field with two kinds of seed. Do not wear clothing woven of two kinds of material. My neighbor is an ass. I don't love him. Favoritism to the great. Doesn't Trump count as great? You're like half American Christian. Are they picking favorites? Well, picking favorites. It's as a lead. I don't. Picking. Well, I think it's you're picking you pick your leader. You pick your leader based on their values, their beliefs and values. That what you believe is the best candidate for presidency. That is democracy. That is democracy manifest. I don't. I think. What was the line? Favoritism. You know how backwards is grudge against the one. You're not. Do not show partially to. It's do not pervert justice. Okay, it's not favoritism. Like you can't have favorite people and stuff. It means it's on the. This is the same sentence. Do not pervert justice. Do not show partially to the poor or favoritism to the great. So, do not. So if your favorite president Donald Trump was held in court for crimes he had committed, if you're judging him, like judge or jury or executioner, you do not show favoritism to him just because you like him. You judge him fairly based on his crimes he has committed. I think just because they don't like them in their country. Well, they're committing crimes. Like, those people are committing crimes in their country, so they have a right to export them. I never make this pie every year and still warm when we get it. My neighbor told me that my trash can was unsightly and I need to hide it in my garage. Yeah. I hope this answers your questions, Dusty. If a man sleeps with a female slave who is promised to another man, but who has not been ransomed or given her freedom, there must be due punishment, yet they are not to be put to death, because she had not been freed. The man, however, must bring a ram to the entrance of the tent of meeting for a guilt offering. With the ram of the guilt offering, the priest is to make atonement for him before the Lord for the sin he has committed, and the sin will be forgiven. So if you sleep with your slave, if they're promised to another man, it's not worth it. You have to take a whole goat every time. When you enter the land and plant any kind of fruit tree, regard its fruit as forbidden. For 3 years you are to consider it forbidden. It must not be eaten. In the 4th year, all its fruit will be holy, an offering of praise to the Lord. But in the 5th year, you may eat its fruit. In this way, your harvest will be increased. I am the Lord your God. Your harvest will be increased enough to make up for the 4 years that you didn't get to eat fruit from it. I am the Lord your God. Do not eat any meat with the blood still in it. Do not practice divination or seek omens. Do not cut the hair at the sides of your head, or clip off the edges of your beard, so you're not allowed to shave your beard? You're not allowed to shave your facial hair. That's why a lot of Jewish people have long beards. Because it is seen as sinful, or that's why Jesus had a beard too. Ah, did he? Jesus had a beard? Yeah, but Jesus' beard wasn't that long, was it? At least not depicted in... When I think of depictions of him in South Park and other things. If a man... Do not cut your bodies for the dead, or put tattoo marks on yourselves. I am the Lord. Jesus was Jewish, so he almost certainly had a decently long beard. Ah, well, there you go, I guess. Do not cut your bodies. Like, okay. Do not degrade your daughter by making her a prostitute, or the land will turn to prostitution and be filled with wickedness. Observe my Sabbaths and have reverence for my sanctuary. I am the Lord. Do not turn to mediums or seek out spiritists, for you will be defiled by them. I am the Lord your God. Stand up in the presence of the aged. Show respect for the elderly and revere your God. I am the Lord. When a foreigner resides among you in your land, do not mistreat them. The foreigner residing among you must be treated as your native born. Love them as yourself, for you were foreigners in Egypt. I am the Lord, your God. Do not use dishonest standards when measuring length, weight, or quantity. This, like what they use in America. Fun fact: all the words said by God or Jesus are read in my Bible. Are read, like the quotes. That's cool. That might make this easier if it was different colors. What's man or what's God? Oh. Do not use honest scales and honest weights, an honest ephah and honest hin. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt. Keep all my decrees. Can you just imagine being Moses and listening to all of this? After every sentence, I am the Lord your God. Never mind. Keep all my decrees and all my laws and follow them. I am the Lord. The Lord said to Moses, again, say to the Israelites, any Israelite or any foreigner residing in Israel who sacrifices any of his children to Molech, who is Molech, is to be put to death. The members of the community are to stone him. I myself will set my face against him and will cut him off from his people. For by sacrificing his children to Molech, he has defiled my sanctuary and profaned my holy name. We watched the new Edge Runner movie, and in the movie they brainwash people by telling them stuff and repeating the same line between those ramblings. I don't see how that's related at all to this, what we're reading. If the members of the community if the members of the community close we can't take what is written in the movie anti-Bible propaganda, Christianity propaganda. We can't take that as a fact. Lizard. If the members of the community close their eyes when that man sacrifices one of his children to Molech, and if they fail to put him to death, I myself will set my face against him and his family and will cut them off from their people, together with all who follow him in prostituting themselves to Molech. Oh. So that's like a little loophole. If the people don't kill you, then you're allowed to live, but you're not allowed to live with the people. I will set my face against anyone who turns to mediums and spiritists to prostitute themselves by following them, and I will cut them off from their people. Consecrate. I can't imagine how many people are spiritualists in this. Like, you have God, but how can you, like, if all the people are now very critically aware that God exists, how can they possibly be brainwashed by spiritualists and stuff? Like, how do these people? I will set my consecrate yourselves and be holy, because I am the Lord your God. Keep my decrees and follow them. I am the Lord who makes you holy. Anyone who curses their father or mother is to be put to death. Because they have cursed their father or mother, their blood will be on their own head. If a man commits adultery with another man's wife, with the wife's neighbor, both the adulterer and the adulteress are to be put to death. If a man has sexual relations with his father's wife, he has dishonored his father. Both the man and the woman are to be put to death. Their blood will be on their hands, their own hands. If a man has sexual relations with his daughter-in-law, both of them are to be put to death. Both of them. What they have done in perversion, their blood will be on their own hands. If a man has sexual relations with a man, as one does with a woman, both of them have done what is detestable. They are to be put to death. Their blood will be on their own hands. If a man marries both a woman and her mother, it is wicked. Both he and they must be burned in the fire, so that no wickedness will be among you. If a man, women having sexual relations with another woman, I guess that must have either been okay, or it was so inconceivable they didn't even think to write it down. God himself didn't even think to mention it. Does it count if she's stuck in the washing machine and happened accidentally? Maybe you might have to ask your priest and see what you can do to sacrifice a goat or a bull to offer a sacrifice to the Lord. If a man marries both a woman and her mother, it is wicked. Both he and they must be burned in the fire, so that no wickedness will be among you. If a man marries both a woman and her mother, they have to be burned in a fire. If a man has sexual relations with an animal, he is to be put to death. You must kill the animal. If a woman approaches an animal to have sexual relations with it, kill both the woman and the animal. They are to be put to death. Their blood will be on their own hands. If a man marries his sister and a daughter of either his father or mother, and they have sexual relations, it is a disgrace. They are to be publicly removed from their people. He has dishonored his sister, and he will be held responsible. If a man has sexual relations with a woman during her monthly period, he has exposed the source of her flow, and she has also uncovered it. Both of them are to be cut off from their people. Do not have sexual relations with the sister of either your mother or father, for that would dishonor a close relative. Both of you would be held responsible. If a man has sexual relations with his aunt, he has dishonored his uncle, and they will be held responsible. They will die childless. Or if a man marries his brother's wife, it is an act of impurity. He has dishonored his brother. They will be childless. Keep all my decrees and laws and follow them, so that the land where I am bringing you to live may not vomit you out. You must not live according to the customs of the nations I am going to drive out before you, because they did these things, I abhorred them. But I said to you, you will possess their land, and I will give it to you as an inheritance, a land flowing with milk and honey. I am the Lord, your God, who has set you apart from all the nations. You must therefore make a distinction between clean and unclean animals, and between unclean and clean birds. Do not defile yourselves by any animal or bird or anything that moves along the ground. Those that I have set apart as unclean for you. You are to be holy to me, because I, the Lord, am holy. I have set you apart from the nations to be my own. A man or woman who is a medium or spiritist amongst you must be put to death. You are to stone them. Their blood will be on their own hands. The Lord said to Moses, Speak to the priests, the sons of Aaron, and say to them, a priest must not make himself ceremonially unclean for any of his people who die, except for a close relative, such as his mother or father, his sons or his brother, or an unmarried sister who is dependent on him since she has no husband. For her he may make himself unclean. Wait, I don't. A priest must not make himself ceremonially unclean for any of his people who die, except for a close relative such as or an unmarried sister who is dependent on him since she has no husband. For her he may make himself unclean. He must not make himself unclean for people related to him by marriage, and so defile himself. Priests must not shave their heads, or shave off the edges of their beards, or cut their bodies. They must be holy to their God, and must not profane the name of their God. Because they present the food offerings to the Lord, the food of their God, they are to be holy. They must not marry women defiled by prostitution or divorced from their husbands, because priests are holy to their God. Regard them as holy, because they offer up the food of your God. Consider them holy, because I, the Lord, am holy, I who make you holy. If a priest's daughter defiles herself by becoming a prostitute, she disgraces her father. She must be burned in the fire. The high priest, the one among his brothers who has had the anointing oil poured on his head, and who has been anointed to wear the priestly garments, must not let his hair become unkempt or tear his clothes. He must not enter a place where there is a dead body. He must not make himself unclean, even for his father or mother. Nor leave the sanctuary of his God or desecrated, because he has been dedicated by the anointing oil of his God. I am the Lord. The woman he marries must be a virgin. He must not marry a widow, a divorced woman, or a woman defiled by prostitution, but only a virgin from his own people, so that he will not defile his offspring among his people. I am the Lord who makes him holy. The Lord said to Moses, say to Aaron, for the generations to come, none of your descendants who has a defect may come near to offer the food of his God. No man who has any defect may come near. No man who is blind or lame. Lame. Disfigured or deformed. What is lame? Like uncool? No man with a crippled foot or hand, or who is hunchback or a dwarf, or who has any defect. So they had dwarves 2,000 years ago, 2,025 years ago. I thought it was like like inbreeding. Yeah, maybe. Sure, people still exist. Yeah, I know they still exist. I thought they existed now because of like lead or something. You know, I thought they exist now because of like deformities in like recent you know, like lead in the water. I don't know, whatever. Like I didn't think they'd have dwarves all the way back in like sandy times where there was sand everywhere. People were even shorter? Really? Or who has any eye defect, or who has festering or running sores, or damaged testicles. Note them as testicles. No descendant of Aaron the priest who has any defect is to come near the presence to present the food offering to the Lord. He has a defect. He must not come near the offering, the food of his God. He may eat the most holy food of his God, as well as the holy food. Yet because of his defect, he must not go near the curtain or approach the altar, and so desecrate my sanctuary. I am the Lord who makes them holy. So Moses told this to Aaron and his sons, and to all the Israelites. The Lord said to Moses, he said, "Tell Aaron and his sons to treat with respect the sacred offering the Israelites consecrate to me, so they will not profane my holy name. I am the Lord. Say to them, for the generations to come, if any of your descendants is ceremonially unclean and yet comes near the sacred offerings that the Israelites consecrate to the Lord, that person must be cut off from my presence. I am the Lord. If a descendant of Aaron has a defiling skin disease or a bodily discharge, he may not eat the sacred offerings until he is cleansed. He will also be unclean if he touches something defiled by a corpse or by anyone who has an emission of semen. Or if he touches any crawling thing that makes him unclean, or any person who makes him unclean, whatever the uncleanliness may be. The one who touches any such thing will be unclean till evening. He must not eat any of the sacred offerings unless he has bathed himself with water. When the sun goes down, he will be clean. And after that he may eat the sacred offerings, for they are his food. He must not eat anything found dead or torn by wild animals, and so become unclean through it. I am the Lord. The priests are to perform my service in such a way that they do not become guilty and die for treating it with contempt. I am the Lord who makes them holy. No one outside a priest's family may eat the sacred offering, nor may the guest of a priest or his hired worker eat it. But if a priest buys a slave with money, or if slaves are born in his household, they may eat his food. If a priest's daughter marries anyone other than a priest, she may not eat any of the sacred contributions. But if a priest's daughter becomes a widow or is divorced yet has no children, and she returns to live in her father's household as in her youth, she may eat her father's food. No unauthorized person, however, may eat it. So that's where the offerings went. Yes, to eat. Offerings made to the Lord were eaten by Moses and the family, the holiest of holy people, because God does not eat, because he is an omnipotent being but has no stomach or digestive system, so he cannot eat our earthly foods. I think there were some of the offerings you weren't allowed to eat, if I remember correctly. Seems mighty convenient that the guy says to cook delicious food and leave it, also gets to eat it. This next line. Anyone who questions that the holiest of people get to eat the sacred offerings is to be put to death. Oh, Ninya, you might have to be put to death now. Oh, are you questioning that the holy people get to eat the holy food? Yes, Ninya must be put to death. Everybody chat, get him! Everybody get him! Anyone who eats the sacred offering by mistake must make restitution to the priest for the offering and add 1/5 of the value to it. The priests must not desecrate the sacred offerings the Israelites present to the Lord by allowing them to eat sacred offerings and so bring upon them guilt requiring payment. I am the Lord who makes them holy. The Lord said to Moses, "Speak to Aaron and his sons and to all the Israelites and say to them, if any of you, whether an Israelite or a foreigner residing in Israel, present a gift for a burnt offering to the Lord, either to fulfill a vow or as a free will offering, you must present a male without defect from the cattle, sheep or goats. Sheep or goats, in order that it may be accepted on your behalf. Do not bring anything with a defect, because it will not be accepted on your behalf. When anyone brings the herd from the herd or flock of a fellowship offering to the Lord to fulfill a special vow or as a free will offering, it must be without defect or blemish to be acceptable. Do not offer the Lord the blind, the injured, or the maimed, or anything with warts or festering, or running sores. Do not place any of these on the altar as a food offering presented to the Lord. You may, however, present as a free will offering an ox or a sheep that is deformed or stunted, but it will not be accepted in fulfillment of a vow. You must not offer to the Lord an animal whose testicles are bruised, crushed, torn, or cut. You must not do this in your own land. And you must not accept such animals from the hand of a foreigner and offer them as food of your God. They will not be accepted on your behalf because they are deformed and have defects. The Lord said to Moses, when a calf, a lamb, or goat is born, it is to remain with its mother for 7 days. From the 8th day on, it will be acceptable as food offering presented to the Lord. Do not slaughter a cow or a sheep and its young on the same day. When you sacrifice a thank offering to the Lord, sacrifice it in such a way that it will be accepted on your behalf. It must be eaten that same day. Leave none of it till morning. I am the Lord. Keep my commands and follow them. I am the Lord. Do not profane my name, for I must be acknowledged as holy by the Israelites. I am the Lord who made you holy, and who brought you out of Egypt to be your God. I am the Lord. Does the Lord inspect the testicles prior to accepting the offering? I think it's up to the priest to accept it. If the priest inspects it and gives it to the Lord, I think the Lord sees this or eats it, and he's like, this isn't right, and then he kills everybody. Keep my commands and follow them. I am the Lord. Do not profane my holy name, for I must be acknowledged as holy by Israelites. I am the Lord who made you holy, and who brought you out of Egypt to be your God. I am the Lord. The Lord said to Moses, speak to the Israelites and say to them, these are my appointed festivals, the appointed festivals of the Lord, which you are to proclaim as sacred assemblies. The Sabbath. There are 6 days where you may work, but the 7th day is the day of Sabbath rest, a day of sacred assembly. You are not to do any work wherever you live. It is a Sabbath to the Lord. The Passover and the festival of unleavened bread, Pesach. These are the Lord's appointed festivals, sacred assemblies you are to proclaim at their appointed times. The Lord's Passover begins at twilight on the 14th day of the first month. On the 15th day of the month that the Lord's festival of unleavened bread begins, for 7 days you must eat bread made without yeast. On the first day hold a sacred assembly and do no regular work. For For 7 days present a food offering to the Lord, and on the 7th day hold a sacred assembly and do no regular work. Offering of the first fruits. The Lord said to Moses, "Speak to the Israelites and say to them, when you enter the land I am going to give you and you reap its harvest, bring to the priest a sheaf of the first grain you harvest. He is to wave the sheaf before the Lord, so it will be accepted on your behalf. The priest is to wave it on the day after the Sabbath. On the day you wave the sheaf, you must sacrifice as a burnt offering to the Lord on lamb, a year old without defect. Together with its grain offering, the 2/10 of an ephah of the finest flour mixed with olive oil. A food offering presented to the Lord, a pleasing aroma, and its drink offering of a quarter of a hin of wine. You must not eat any bread, or roasted or new grain, until the very end. You must bring this offering to your God. This is to be a lasting ordinance for the generations to come wherever you live. The Festival of Weeks. From the day after the Sabbath, the day you brought the sheaf of wave offering, count off 7 full weeks. Count off 50 days up to the day after the 7th Sabbath, and then present an offering of new grain to the Lord. I don't know what festival this is. From wherever you live, bring 2 loaves made of 2/10 of an ephah, to the finest flour baked with yeast, as a wave offering of first fruits to the Lord. Present an offering of new grain to the Lord. From wherever you live, bring 2 loaves made of 2/10 of an ephah of the finest flour baked with yeast, as a wave offering of first fruits to the Lord. Present with this bread 7 male lambs, each a year old without defect, 1 young bull and 2 rams. They will be burnt. It will be a burnt offering, together with their grain offerings and drink offerings, a food offering, an aroma pleasing to the Lord. Then sacrifice 1 male goat for a sin offering and 2 lambs, each a year old. For a fellowship offering, the priest is to wave the 2 lambs before the Lord as a wave offering, together with the bread of the first fruits. They are a sacred offering to the Lord for the priest. On that same day you are to proclaim a sacred assembly and do no regular work. This is to be a lasting ordinance for the generations to come wherever you live. When you reap the harvest of your land, do not reap the very edges of your field, or gather the gleanings of your harvest. Leave them for the poor and for the foreigner residing among you. I am the Lord, your God. The Festival of Trumpets. Say to the Israelites, the Lord said to Moses, say to the Israelites, on the first day of the 7th month, you are to have a day of Sabbath rest, a sacred assembly commemorated with trumpet blasts. Do no regular work. Do no regular work, but present a food offering to the Lord. The Day of Atonement. The Lord said to Moses, the 10th day of the 7th month is the Day of Atonement. Hold a sacred assembly and deny yourselves, and present a food offering to the Lord. Do not do any work on that day, because it is the Day of Atonement, when atonement is made for you before the Lord, your God. Those who do not deny themselves on that day must be cut off from their people. I will destroy from among their people anyone who does any work on that day. You shall do no work at all. This is to be a lasting ordinance for your generations to come, wherever you live. It is a day of Sabbath rest for you, and you must deny yourselves. From the evening of the 9th of the month until the following evening, you are to observe your Sabbath. The Festival of Tabernacles. The Lord said to Moses, "Say to the Israelites, on the 15th day of the 7th month, the Lord's festival of the tabernacles begins, and it lasts for 7 days. The first day is a sacred assembly. Do no regular work. For 7 days present food offerings to the Lord, and on the 8th day hold a sacred assembly and present a food offering to the Lord. It is the closing special assembly. Do no regular work." These are the Lord's appointed festivals, which you are to proclaim as sacred assemblies for bringing food offerings to the Lord: the burnt offerings and grain offerings, sacrifices and drink offerings required for each day. These offerings are in addition to those for the Lord's Sabbaths, and in addition to your gifts and whatever you have vowed, and all the free will offerings you give the Lord. So beginning with the 15th day of the 7th month, you have gathered the crops of the land. Celebrate the festival to the Lord for 7 days. The first day is a day of Sabbath rest, and on the 8th day also is a day of Sabbath rest. On the first day you are to take branches from luxuriant trees, from palms, willows, and other leafy trees, and rejoice before the Lord your God for 7 days. Celebrate this as a festival to the Lord for 7 days each year. This is to be a lasting ordinance for the generations to come. Celebrate it in the 7th month. Live in temporary shelters for 7 days. All native-born Israelites are to live in such shelters, so your descendants will know that I had the Israelites live in temporary shelters when I brought them out of Egypt. I am the Lord, your God. So Moses announced to the Israelites the appointed festivals of the Lord. Olive oil and bread set before the Lord. The Lord said to
Blessed morning, Manuka.
Blessed morning, Bull 13455. Yes. The Lord said to Moses, "Command the Israelites to bring you clear oil for pressed olives for the light, so that the lamps may be kept burning continually. Outside the curtain that shields the ark of the covenant law in the tent of meeting, Aaron is to tend the lamps before the Lord from evening till morning continually. This is to be a lasting ordinance for the generations to come. The lamps on a pure gold lampstand before the Lord must be tended continually. Take the finest flour and bake 12 loaves of bread, using 2/10 of an ephah for each loaf. Arrange them in 2 stacks, 6 in each stack, on the table of pure gold before the Lord. By each stack put some pure incense as a memorial portion to present the bread and to be a food offering presented to the Lord. This bread is to be set out before the Lord regularly, Sabbath after Sabbath, on behalf of the Israelites as a lasting covenant. It belongs to Aaron and his sons, who are to eat it in the sanctuary area, because it is most holy part of their perpetual share of the food offerings presented to the Lord." Now the son of an Israelite mother and an Egyptian father went out among the Israelites, and fight broke out in the camp between him and an Israelite. The son of the Israelite woman blasphemed the name with a curse. So they brought him to Moses. His mother's name was Shelomith, the daughter of Dibri the Danite. They put him in custody until the will of the Lord should be made clear to them. Isn't it a little less thoughtful if someone just tells you what to get them as a gift? If we really knew him, we would get him a nice offering he'd like. That's a good one. Yeah. They put him in custody. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Take the blasphemer outside the camp. All those who heard him are to lay their hands on his head. The entire assembly is to stone him. Say to the Israelites, anyone who curses their God will be held responsible. Anyone who blasphemes the name of the Lord is to be put to death. The entire assembly must stone them. Whether foreigner or native born, when they blaspheme the name They're to put to death. They're to be put to death. Anyone who takes the life of a human being is to be put to death. Anyone who takes the life of someone's animal must make restitution. Life for life. Oh. Anyone who injures their neighbor is to be injured in the same manner. See, we should bring back laws like that. That's a good law. Anyone who injures their neighbor is to be injured in the same way. An eye for an eye. Fracture for fracture. Eye for eye. Oh. Fracture for fracture, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. The one who has inflicted the injury must suffer the same injury. Whoever kills an animal must make restitution, but whoever kills a human being is to be put to death. You are to have the same law for the foreigner and the native born. I am the Lord your God. Then Moses spoke to the Israelites, and they took the blasphemer outside the camp and stoned him. The Israelites did as the Lord commanded Moses. But is stoning somebody the same as killing? Do they die after being stoned, or do they get to live? The Lord said to Moses at Mount Sinai, "Speak to the Israelites and say to them, when you enter the land I am going to give you, the land itself must observe a Sabbath to the Lord. For 6 years sow your fields, and for 6 years prune your vineyards and gather their crops. But in the 7th year the land is to have a year of Sabbath rest, a Sabbath to the Lord. Do not sow your fields or prune your vineyards. Do not reap what grows of itself, or harvest the grapes of your untended vines. The land is to have a year of rest. Whatever the land yields." What if everybody misses their stones? What if they're not good at throwing? Whatever the land yields during the Sabbath year will be food for you, for yourself, your male and female servants, and the hired worker and the temporary resident who live among you, as well as your livestock and the wild animals in your land. Whatever the land produces may be eaten. Count off 7 Sabbath years, 7 times 7 years, so that the 7th Sabbath years amount to a period of 49 years. Then have the trumpet sounded everywhere on the 10th day of the 7th month, on the day of the anointment. Sound the trumpet through your land. Consecrate the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout the land to all its inhabitants. It shall be a jubilee for you. Each of you is to return to your family, property, and to your own clan. The 50th year shall be a jubilee for you. Do not sow and do not reap what grows of itself, or harvest the untended vines, for it is a jubilee and is to be holy for you. Eat only what is taken directly from your fields. In the year of Jubilee, everyone is to return to their own property. If you sell land to any of your own people or buy land from them, do not take advantage of each other. You are to buy... Oh, that's a good one. They should apply that to current ownership of houses. You are to buy from your own people on the basis of the number of years since the Jubilee, and they are to sell to you on the basis of the number of years left of the harvesting crops. When the years are many, you are to increase the price, and when the years are few, you are to decrease the price. The years must be many now, because, very many, because the prices are at an all-time high. When the years are many, you are to increase the price, and the years are few, to decrease the price, because what is really being sold to you is the number of crops. Do not take advantage of each other, but fear your God. I am the Lord, your God. Follow my decrees and be careful to obey my laws, and you will live safely in the land. Then the land will yield its fruit, and you will eat your fill and live there in safety. You may ask, what will we eat in the 7th year if we do not plant or harvest crops? I will send you such a blessing in the 6th year that the land will yield enough for 3 years. While you plant during the 8th year, you will eat from the old crop and will continue to eat from it until the harvest of your 9th year comes. The land must not be sold permanently, because the land is mine, and you are to reside in my land as foreigners and strangers. Throughout the land that you hold as a possession, you must provide for the redemption of the land. If one of your fellow Israelites becomes poor and sells some of their property, their nearest relative is to come and redeem what they have sold. If, however, there is no one to redeem it for them, but later on they prosper and acquire sufficient means to redeem themselves, they are to determine the value for the years since they have sold it and refund the balance to the one to whom they sold it. They can go back to their own property. Yes, the teachings of the Lord never stop. Dear Mixie, I hope you had a wonderful sleeping. But if they do not acquire the means to repay, what was sold will remain in the possession of the buyer until the year of Jubilee. It will be returned in the Jubilee, and they can go back to their property. Anyone who sells a house in a walled city retains the right of redemption. Anyone who sells a house in a walled city retains the right of redemption for a full year after its sale. During that time, the seller may redeem it. If it is not redeemed before a full year has passed, the house in the walled city shall belong permanently to the buyer and the buyer's descendants. It is not to be returned to the Jubilee. But the houses in villages without walls around them are to be considered as belonging to the open country. What if I get hit by a meteor before we learn how to get it to heaven? Oh no. That would be bad, wouldn't it? So the property. In houses and villages without walls around, they belong to the country. They can be redeemed and they are to return to the Jubilee. The Levites always have the right to redeem their houses in the Levitical towns, which they possess. So the property of the Levites is redeemable. That is, a house sold in any town they hold and is to be returned to the Jubilee, because the houses in the towns of the Levites are their property among the Israelites. But the pasture land belonging to their towns must not be sold. It is their permanent possession. If any of your fellow Israelites become poor and are unable to support themselves among you, help them as you would a foreigner and stranger, so they can continue to live among you. Do not take interest or any profit from them, but fear your God, so that they may continue to live among you. You must not lend them money at interest or sell them food at a profit. I am the Lord, your God, who brought you out of Egypt to give you the land of Canaan, and to be your God. If any of your fellow Israelites become poor and sell themselves to you, do not make them work as slaves. They are to be treated as hired workers or temporary residents among you. They are to work for you until the year of the Jubilee, and they and their children are to be released, and they will go back to their own clans and to the property of their ancestors. Because the Israelites are my servants, whom I brought out of Egypt, they must not be sold as slaves. Do not rule over them ruthlessly, but fear your God. Your male and female slaves are to come from the nations around you. From them you may buy slaves. You may also buy some of the temporary residents living among you, and members of the clans born in your country, and they will become your property. You can bequeath them to your children as inherited property, and can make them slaves for life, but you must not rule over your fellow Israelites ruthlessly. If a foreigner residing among you becomes rich, and any of your fellow Israelites become poor, and sell themselves to the foreigner or to a member of the foreigner's clan, they retain the right of redemption after they have sold themselves. One of their relatives may redeem them. An uncle or a cousin, or any blood relative in their clan may redeem them. Or if they prosper, they may redeem themselves. They and their buyer are to count the time from the year they sold themselves up to the year of Jubilee. The price for their release is to be based on the rate paid to a hired worker for that number of years. If many years remain, they must pay for their redemption a larger share of the price paid for them. If only a few years remain until the end of the year, until the year of Jubilee, they are to compute that and pay for... Compute that? They didn't have computers back in those days. And pay for the redemption accordingly. They are to be treated as workers hired from year to year. You must see it to it that those to whom they own sacrifice do not rule over themselves ruthlessly. Even if someone is not redeemed in any of these ways, they and their children are to be released in the year of Jubilee, when the Israelites belong to me as servants. They are my servants, whom I brought out of Egypt. I am the Lord. Reward for obedience. We're about to get rewarded for our obedience. Do not make idols, or set up an image or a sacred stone for yourselves, and do not place a carved stone in your land to bow down before it. I am the Lord, your God. Observe my Sabbaths and have reverence for my sanctuary. I am the Lord. If you follow my decrees and are careful to obey my commands, I will send you rain in its season, and the ground will yield its crops and the trees their fruit. I will send... Your threshing will continue until grape harvest, and the grape harvest will continue until planting, and you will eat all the food you want and live in safety in your land. I will grant peace. Well, what happened? Now there's tons of bombings in Israel. What happened? Some of the people must have slipped up. I will grant peace in the land, and you will lie down, and no one will make you afraid. I will remove wild beasts from the land, and the sword will not pass through your country. You will pursue your enemies, and they will fall by the sword before you. 5 of you will chase 100, and 100 of you will chase 10,000. And your enemies will fall by the sword before you. I will look on you with favor and make you fruitful and increase your numbers, and I will keep my covenant with you. You will still be eating last year's harvest when you will have to move it out to make room for the new. I will put my dwelling place among you, and I will not abhor you. I will walk among you and your God, and be your God, and you will be my people. What? You will be my people. Be my people. I am the Lord your God, who brought you up out of Egypt, so that you will no longer be slaves to the Egyptians. I broke the bars of your yoke, and enabled you to walk with your heads held high. But if you will not listen to me or carry out these commands, and you reject my decrees, and abhor my laws, and fail to carry out all my commands as so to violate my covenant, Then I will do this to you. I will bring on you sudden terror, wasting diseases and fever that will destroy your sight and sap your strength. You will plant seed in vain because your enemies will eat it. I will set my face against you so that you will be defeated by your enemies. Those who hate you will rule over you, and you will flee even when no one is pursuing you. If after all this you will not listen to me, I will punish you for your sins 7 times over. I will break down your stubborn pride and make the sky above you like iron and the ground beneath you like bronze. Your strength will be spent in vain because your soil will not yield its crops, nor will the trees of your land yield their fruit. If you remain hostile toward me and refuse to listen to me, I will multiply your afflictions 7 times over as your sins deserve. I will send wild animals against you, and they will rob you of your children, destroy your cattle, and make you so few in numbers that your roads will be deserted. If in spite these things you do not accept my correction but continue to be hostile toward me, and I will bring the sword on you to avenge the breaking of the covenant. And when you withdraw into your cities, I will send a plague among you, and you will be given into your enemy hands. When I cut off your supply of bread, 10 women will be able to bake your bread in one oven, and they will 10 women will be able to bake your bread in one oven. 10 women will be able to bake your bread in one oven, and they will dole out the bread by weight. You will eat, but you will not be satisfied. If in spite of this you still do not listen to me, but continue to be hostile towards me, then in my anger I will be hostile towards you, and I myself will punish you for your sins 7 times over. And you will eat the flesh of your sons and the flesh of your daughters. Oh my. I will destroy your high places, cut down your incense altars, and pile your dead bodies on the lifeless forms of your idols, and I will abhor you. I will turn your cities into ruins and lay waste your sanctuaries, and I will take no delight in the pleasing aroma of your offerings. I myself will lay waste the lands, so that your enemies who live there will be appalled. I will scatter you among the nations and will draw out my sword and pursue you. Your land will be laid waste, and your cities will lie in ruins. Then the land will enjoy its Sabbath years all the time that it lies desolate, and you are in a country of your enemies. Then the land will rest and enjoy its Sabbaths. All the time that it lies desolate, the land will have the rest it did not have during the Sabbaths you lived in it. As for those of you who are left, I will make their hearts so fearful in the land of their enemies that the sound of a wind-blown leaf will put them to fright. They will run as though fleeing from the sword, and they will fall, even though no one is pursuing them. They will stumble over one another as though fleeing from the sword, even though no one is pursuing them. So you will not be able to stand before your enemies. You will perish among your nations. The land of your enemies will devour you. Those of you who are left will waste away in the lands of their enemies because of their sins, also because of their ancestors' sins. They will waste away. But if they will confess their sins and the sins of their ancestors, their unfaithfulness and their hostility toward me, which made me hostile toward them, so that I sent them into the land of their enemies, then when their uncircumcised hearts are humbled, and they pay for their sins, I will remember my covenant with Jacob, and my covenant with Isaac, and my covenant with Abraham, and I will remember the land. For the land will be deserted by them, and will enjoy its Sabbaths, while it lies desolate without them. They will pay for their sins because they have rejected my laws and abhorred my decrees. Yet in spite of this, when they are in the land of their enemies, I will not reject them or abhor them, so as to destroy them completely, breaking my covenant with them. I am the Lord, your God. But for their sake, I will remember the covenant with their ancestors who I brought out of Egypt in the sight of the nations to be their God. I am the Lord. These are the decrees, the laws, and regulations that the Lord established at Mount Sinai between himself and the Israelites through Moses. The Lord said to Moses again, "Speak to the Israelites and say to them, if anyone makes a special vow to dedicate a person to the Lord by giving the equivalent value, set the value of a male between the ages of 20 and 60 at 50 shekels of silver, according to the sanctuary shekel. For a female, set her value at 30 shekels. For a person between the ages of 5 and 20, set the value of a male at 20 shekels and of a female at 10 shekels. For a person between 1 month and 5 years, set the value of a male at 5 shekels of silver and that of a female at 3 shekels. No, not shekels, the Pokemon. Shekels, the Israel currency. For a person 60 years old or more, set the value of a male at 15 shekels and a female 10 shekels. If anyone making the vow is too poor to pay the specified amount, the person being dedicated is to be presented to the priest, who will set the value according to what the one making the vow can afford. If what they vowed is an animal that is acceptable as an offering to the Lord, such as an animal given to the Lord becomes holy, they must not exchange it or substitute it, a good one for a bad one, or a bad one for a good one. If they should substitute one animal for another, both it and the substitute become holy. If what they vowed is a ceremonially unclean animal, one that is not acceptable as an offering to the Lord, the animal must be presented to the priest, who will judge its quality as good or bad. Whatever the value the priest then sets, that is what it will be. If the owner wishes to redeem the animal, a fifth must be added to its value. If anyone dedicates their house as something holy to the Lord, the priest will judge its quality as good or bad. Whatever the value the priest then sets, so it will remain. If the one who dedicates their house wishes to redeem it, they must add a fifth to its value, and the house will again become theirs. If anyone dedicates the Lord part of their family land, its value is to be set according to the amount of the seed required for it, 50 shekels of silver to a homer of barley seed. If they dedicate a field during the year of Jubilee, the value that has been set remains. But if they dedicate a field after the Jubilee, the priest will determine the value according to the number of years that remain until the next year of Jubilee, and its set value will be reduced. If the one who dedicates the field wishes to redeem it, they must add a fifth to its value, and the field will again become theirs. If, however, they do not redeem the field, or if they have sold it to someone else, it can never be redeemed. When the field is released in the Jubilee, it will become holy. Like a field devoted to the Lord, it will become priestly property. If anyone dedicates to the Lord a field that they have bought, which is not part of their family land, the priest will determine its value. Hold on, we're almost done. The priest will determine its value up to the year of the Jubilee, and the owner must pay its value on the day it's as something holy to the Lord. In the year of Jubilee, the field will revert to the person from whom it was bought, the one whose land it was. Every value is to be set accordingly to the sanctuary shekel, 20 gerahs to the shekel. No one, however, may dedicate the firstborn of an animal, since the firstborn already belongs to the Lord, whether an ox or a sheep. It is the Lord's. If it is one of the unclean animals, it may be brought back at its set value, adding a fifth of the value to it. If it's not redeemed, it is to be sold at its set value. But nothing that a person owns and devotes to the Lord, whether a human being or an animal or a family land, may be sold or redeemed. Everything so devoted is most holy to the Lord. No person devoted to destruction may be ransomed. They are to be put to death. A tithe of everything from the land, whether grain from the holy soil or fruits from the trees, belongs to the Lord. It is holy to the soil. It is holy to the Lord. Whoever would redeem any of their tithe must add a fifth to the value. Every tithe of the herd and flock, every 10th animal that passes under the shepherd's rod will be holy to the Lord. No one may pick out the good from the bad or make any substitution. If anyone does make a substitution, both the animal and the substitute become holy and cannot be redeemed. These are the commands the Lord gave Moses at Mount Sinai for the Israelites. Wow. Boom. Wait. Boom. Wow. We're done. We finished. Cinema. Absolute cinema. Wow. So that was the book of rules, I guess. Leviticus. And we're done with Leviticus. We never have to read Leviticus ever again. And next week it's whatever is next week. Any questions? Anybody have any questions about what we just read? Anyone? What time? Oh, we've gone over 2 hours. Did God speak perfect English? No, this is translated from Hebrew. Does this mean no more rules? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, I would say no. I thought God was born in USA. No. God was... I mean, I don't think... No. Europe colonized... Europe colonized America, didn't they? There was nobody in America. And native Indians, I don't think, follow the teachings of Lord my God. My God? Hell yeah, we did. If I tried to pay for something with a shackle Pokemon, no, not a shackle. Would it be accepted if it was my first hatch shackle? No, I think you got confused with shekels. A shackle and a shekel is not the same thing. A shekel is the silver currency of the silver currency of Israel, and the shekel is a Pokemon made by a company in Japan. And schmeckles is a fictional currency made by Rick and Morty. It's a fictional currency. It's possible that schmeckles does have some correlation. Maybe it was inspired by the idea. Inspired by? They used actual silver? I think so, yeah. They use silver for the shekels. I remember I was in Israel. it cost like back then it cost like 10 it cost like what 50 shekels to buy a person in the Bible, but it costs like 10 shekels for like a it's like 10 shekels for a like a croissant now. Or it was in like 2013, whatever. Did inflation apply to the slave prices in the Bible? Yes. I would say that remain the same. However, slavery has kind of been outlawed. We don't do slaves anymore, unless you're a criminal. Some countries do slaves. Israel doesn't do slaves. As far as I know, I don't know. Wah. Yeah, no, it's quite expensive to buy slaves. So, anyways, I hope you enjoyed today's Bible reading, and I hope to see you all next week for next week's Bible reading, whatever the book may be. I don't remember. We've done 3. We've done Genesis, Exodus, and Leviticus. Now we're up to Bible 4 out of 66. Right, 66 more Bibles to go. Get excited. Was that 66 including New Genesis, or is that only Old Genesis? Hey, care, thank you to, or the eliminating someone. I don't. Goodbye.